takes to be a great student to be invited to talk about his or her teacher on the eve of retirement? We all know in academic world some teachers get a chance to choose of how long to work, and I would be guessing most teachers will have that warming flow of adrenaline every time you see a class, blackboard or students. Steve Strogatz's teacher, Joff, decides to take his step towards retirement after 49 years of service. Welcome back to this episode on the Calculus of Friendship by Steven Strogatz. In this video, I am going to talk about chapter 11, which is all about celebrations. And I thought it would be a fitting tribute on the eve of Steve completing 62 orbits around the Sun. Well, Steve has been invited to talk about his teacher Joff on April 22nd, 1999 for an evening in celebration of education, known as Black Tie Ceremony, which was held in New York City. This gathering has had more than 100 alumni, faculty, parents, and friends to celebrate teaching and also to honor Joff particularly. And in this, Steve has elegantly presented of how every academicians face a bit of hesitancy or a stutter or being a first lecture or big event, or even more so if one has to talk about their own teachers. But this time he has come up well prepared with anecdotes from Joff's former students, and also he decided to read it out than winging it off. And Steve also seemed to be happy to be accompanied by his wife Carol, whom he met in 1997, fell in love with her at first sight, and getting married in 1998. So I was just reminded of Steve's paper on love affairs and differential equations, which he wrote way back in 1988, and wonder if he would have tested on himself. And apart from that, he was also so happy to be sharing his table with his teacher Joff and his wife Sue. And the celebration went on with lots of nice memories. So after a few days, Joff wrote to Steve expressing his happiness, gratitude, and sharing more stories. And he has also mentioned that though the celebration was his high point in his career, but he was apprehensive about his retirement. And apart from that, he also adds about one famous ballad, The Ring of Polycrates, that he read on a wall. This was actually written by the famous German poet Schiller in 1797. This poem is actually a fictional episode about a friendship between the king Polycrates, who was a tyrant of Samos in 5th century, and his friend Egyptian pharaoh Amasis II. And till date, this poem is considered as a timeless classic which combines poetic beauty with contemporary philosophy. Quickly looking at the poem, King Polycrates was daily greeted by lots of success stories like battles won, new land added to his kingdom, and so on and so forth. Whereas his friend Amasis once suggested he gets rid of his most treasured possession, so the king threw his ring into the ocean. His friend looked relieved that his friend is safe by doing so. But the next day, when the dinner was served to the king, his ring fell out as the fish was sliced open for serving. So Amasis immediately panics and then he flees from the situation. This poem has got several interpretations, like how the greatest success gives reason to fear disaster, and also it stands as an extreme example of how the individual construction of reality taking place in one's mind can shape the way one sees the world. And also it exemplifies the discrepancies between ours and others' opinions on things we often experience. So, with this, before winding up, as Steve celebrates his birthday, thought it would be fun to see his birthday details in the other planets as well. So, here you go. Happy birthday, Steve.